Hello everyone, this is Pastor Max. We are in Advent. Advent is a season to expect the coming of Jesus. And at last we celebrate Christmas. We can see how Jesus came to us through the Gospels. And the first Gospel placed in the New Testament is the Gospel of Matthew. And today we'll think about our faith through Matthew, the disciple, and the Gospel of Matthew. The name Matthew means God's gift in Aramaic. The disciple Matthew's original name was Levi. He was from Capernaum, Galilee, a son of Alphaeus, brother of James. We know another James who was a brother of John, and they were both sons of Zebedee. We'll talk about them later. Matthew's occupation was a tax collector. Tax collectors had very bad reputations in the Jewish society by then. Another was prostitutes. The both were very much looked down by the people. And Jesus came to Matthew in the Bible, who was a tax collector. Matthew appears twice in the Bible, this scene and another one. And that one was when he invited Jesus for a meal after the meeting scene. And this invitation scene was not really focusing on Matthew. The Bible told us how the Jewish leaders were condemning Jesus for eating food with sinners like a tax collector. And there we can find a famous verse. I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. We don't have much record left about Matthew other than these two. A Roman Catholic legend, or saga, tells us that Matthew was martyred in Ethiopian mission. And also the church traditionally accepted Matthew as the writer of the Gospel of Matthew. Without having much records about Matthew, he was depicted relying on the myth and the imagination of what was heard. And there are many images of Matthew, but we will look at following for 4 pieces. And we are looking at the Caravaggio's paintings. These two were both painted in 1602. One is named The Inspiration of Saint Matthew, and another one is Saint Matthew and the Angel. As you can see in these paintings, Caravaggio's is known as a painter who composed his scene theatrically. Light is the main characters, and the scene comes up dramatically. The theme of the painting is about Matthew writing down the gospel with the angel's inspiration. Position the characters differently, but we can see how the angel inspiring Matthew dramatically. And next slide, we have 9th century manuscripts. The first one is from Igbo Gospel, which is Gospel book of Archbishop of Reims. In here, we can imagine how medieval scribes worked in those days. The depicted Matthew's hair looks fiery, and crease and wrinkles of his robes are also dynamic. And you can see the difference from the next slide. Unlike Evil Gospel one, this one is quite restrained from the dynamic. This is from Coronation Gospel, Gospel book of Charlemagne. We can see that this Matthew is peaceful and thoughtful, very concentrating. Comparing to this, Evil Gospel Matthew seems to be weightless. We can assume that what was emphasized by whoever depicted this Matthew. Again, we still don't know what is the clear relationship with the disciple Matthew and the gospel writer Matthew. Perhaps the disciple Matthew had written down the gospel as the tradition tells. Maybe the disciple Matthew's character and his emphasis on his way of telling Jesus could be inherited to his next generation writer. Historically, the name Matthew was named to the gospel later when the Bible was canonized. While canonizing, the church had to distinguish the books from the fake ones. The orthodoxy of the books were depending on the names of the apostles later. Before then, the first church accepted the gospel not because of the writer's name, but because of the content that was acceptable as the Word of God and has changed the lives of the readers. What we know for sure are the passion and the tradition made from Matthew that remain to us now. We can see them in the paintings and the manuscripts. We can see them also in the Gospel of Matthew itself. The method of narrative in the Gospel was to tell the existing Jewish community about why Jesus was the true Christ. How does the Matthew start? A lineage. Sons of Abraham and sons of King David. Matthew is telling that Jesus had the genealogy of faith and the God-given kingship. This shows the legitimacy of faith and its root. Can you also see Matthew's passion to reveal Jesus as the true Messiah and the King? It is Advent, and we are waiting for Jesus to come. While we are waiting, let's look back our root of faith. And let us recover the passion that Matthew had.